Hello and welcome everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. So today in this video we are going to discuss about the difference between the fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy. We are going to discuss as per given under the Lucent general knowledge. Okay, so let us start our class. So first of all, see, we are going to deal the difference on their aspects, okay, on the on the base of their aspects. So here let us try to have a little idea about the difference as well. Okay, so here fundamental rights constitute limitation. Okay, see, in fundamental rights, when we learn fundamental rights, what was there were so many limitations, isn't it? It constitute limitation upon the state, while directive principles of state policy are instruments of instruction to the government. These are the guidelines, like how a government should in what case a government should make a policy so that it will be welfare of the people socially and economically. But here in fundamental rights, then those are all political rights, and there were so many limitations as well. Okay, and here another aspect is that it is not enforceable. Directive principles of state policy are not enforceable in the court, whereas and as well as not justiciable also. Okay, not justiciable also, while the fundamental rights are enforceable by the court. That means if any of your rights written under fundamental rights, okay, are violated, then you have the right to go to the Supreme Court or High Court to file a case against it and to seek justice. But in case of directive principles, whatever it is written there, in case any of those are violated, for example, raising the standard of living, isn't it, the minimum ages and equally minimum ages for both men and women. So under that, in case if it is violated, then you don't have the right to go to the court. So that is why it is not enforceable, and fundamental rights are enforceable. I hope it is clear. And in case if any conflict arises, okay, between fundamental rights and DPSP, then supremacy will be, the former should be prevail in the court, means supremacy should be given here to the fundamental right. Fundamental rights will be considered as supreme, and court will give the decision in favor of fundamental rights. So one such case arises. So before that, see, don't forget to subscribe my channel. This is a reminder to all of you. Okay, I hope you have subscribed as well. So here what happens is that there was a conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy once, in a case of Minerva Mills case. Okay, so here what happens, 42 Amendment Acts ensures, okay, that in case ensures the directive principles are not directly enforceable, but it will be totally immune or unconstitutionality on the ground of contravention. Means if any of your rights, fundamental rights, are being violated, and which especially under Article 14 and 19. 14 gives right to equality and 19 gives freedom of speech, isn't it? So here supremacy will be given to fundamental rights, and in this case also the Supreme Court has given decision by harmonizing, by harmonizing both fundamental rights and directive principles. Okay, directive principles of state policy. So let us come to our main difference here of our today's topic. Okay, so first, in case of aspect, fundamental rights, see, in case of definitions, see, these are rights guaranteed to the individual against the state to ensure personal freedom and liberty. See, these are rights to for the development of the personal people personally, isn't it, or individually, you can say. So here these are those rights guaranteed to the individual against the state. Okay, means in case the state or anyone violates, then the individual have their rights, isn't it, the freedom of speech, expression. So thus such rights, fundamental rights is such rights. Okay, whereas directive principles, these are directives given to the states, okay, given to the state to ensure social and economic justice and welfare of the people. These are only directives or guidelines given to the state so that they can ensure social and economic justice and welfare of the people. But here individually they get rights, isn't it, the person gets rights. So in case of enforceability, as we have already discussed as well, that these fundamental rights are enforceable in courts. That means individual can directly approach court for violation of their rights, whereas directive principles are non-enforceable. That means they cannot go to the court and like approach to the court for the violations of the directive principles or the violations of the guidelines. Okay, then serve as a guidelines for government policies making. See, these all directive principles only serve as a guideline in order to make policies for the government. Okay, by the government, not for the government, by the government to the people, for the people. So this is not enforceable, these are enforceable. Okay, and origin, these are included on the part 3 of the Indian Constitution, that is from article 12 to 35. Here this is included under part 4 of the Indian Constitution, that is from article 36 to 51. So this is the continuation here, isn't it, from 36 to 51. So this was a difference on the basis of definition, enforceability and origin. I hope you are getting it. So next, let us see in case of their nature. See, nature, fundamental right is always referred as negative obligation. Why? Because there are so many limitations on it. For example, you have right to do whatever you want, isn't it? You have a freedom, isn't it, right to freedom, but you cannot violate others' freedom while enjoying your freedom. So that such type of limitations are given here. Okay, so these are negative obligations on the state. Example, right to equality, right to freedom of speech, and it also creates negative obligation towards the states as well. Okay, so this nature is negative here, these are positive. Okay, these are positive in nature and these are positive obligations to the state. Example, like these guidelines stated or tells state that they should provide educations, they should promote public health, etc. Okay, they should always work for the welfare of the people. So these are positive in nature, directive principles are positive in nature, fundamental rights are negative in nature. So next, let us see on the aspect of purpose. Okay, what is the purpose? On the basis of purpose, what are the differences here? In under fundamental rights, protections of individual liberties and freedom from state interference. So here what does fundamental rights give? It gives rights and protection to the individual, isn't it? Individuals freedom from whom? From state's interference. But here in case of directive principles, it directs the state in establishing a welfare state and achieving social and economic justice. So here in case these fundamental rights protects from state's interference, but here it directs this directive principles, DPSP directs the state, okay, in establishing a welfare state, achieving social and economic justice for the people or towards the society. Okay, so here these are basis of rights included. Here under fundamental rights, you will see right to equality. We have 6 fundamental rights and we have already discussed in detail. If you haven't watched that video, please check in my playlist and do watch it. Okay, it will make you more clear. Right to equality, like right to freedom of speech, expression, right to life, personal liberty, cultural rights, educational rights, rights against exploitations. So there are so many rights included under these fundamental rights. But here, and in case of directive principles, what are the rights? Like right to work, right to education, right to public assistance, etc. These are some of the rights included under the DPSP. Okay, and what is their scope? Difference on the basis of their scope. So here these are applicable to all the citizens, including some non-citizens as well. That means including some foreigners as well, because there are some rights available for the foreigners also, isn't it, in case of fundamental rights. But here directive principle, it is only for the citizens. Okay, it is only for the citizen, applicable to the states and its agency, mean to guide policy making, and these are applicable only to citizens, but these are not applicable to the other non-citizens. Okay, that means only in case of India, only the Indian citizens who holds the citizenship, it is applicable. In case of enforcement, can be enforced against the state and private individuals. This can be enforced, isn't it? These are enforceable. We have already done this one. So these are enforceable and these are not enforceable against the state in court, but it form the basis of legislative and executive action. So here these are enforceable, these are non-enforceable. I hope you have understood. Next, last we have on the basis of amendability, that means whether you can make any changes or not. So on fundamental rights, it can be amended by parliament, okay, and subject to judicial review for compliance with basic structure doctrine. Means these fundamental rights can be amended, but it should not alter the basic structure of the Indian Constitution, and proper review should be done. Okay, proper review should be done before amending anything, and these such changes are done only by the parliament. Okay, and subject to judicial review means when they make any changes, they should again show that change to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will again check everything, and only after that, and the Supreme Court will check whether it hampers the rights of the people, or whether it hampers the basic structure of the Indian Constitution. If it doesn't hampers anything, only then in such case changes can be allowed by the Supreme Court. Okay, and that change will be made by the parliament. Here in case of directive principles, these are non-justiciable, but court may consider them while interpreting laws and policies. Okay, like you can amend. Okay, here directly what you can understand, here you can amend, but as these are non-justiciable, it will, like when they want to include certain policies or law as per the directive principle, then they can amend. Okay, so these were the difference between the fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy. I hope it is clear to you, and this was a very short video. Okay, and these are the basic differences, and this will help you in preparing while your exam. Okay, and do let me know in the comment section below, like how do you find my class, and also press the like button, and make sure you check out my previous videos as well on, like I have made videos on fundamental rights and directive principles. And in order to understand this difference, it is important for you to know individually what is fundamental rights and what is directive principles of state policy. And also click on subscribe and hit the bell button, okay, so that you never miss any update. Thank you for watching my video. See you in my next video.